The octopus, the Houdini of the sea. If there's one animal that consistently makes humans look like fools, it's the octopus. With 8 arms, 3 hearts, blue blood, and an IQ that rivals some mammals, octopuses are the escape artists of the natural world. Aquariums everywhere have stories about octopus breakouts. Take Inky the octopus in New Zealand. One night, he slipped out of his enclosure, crawled across the floor, and squeezed through a 6-inch drain pipe that led straight into the ocean. The only evidence was a trail of water. Inky basically staged the perfect prison break. Octopuses also open jars, dismantle plumbing, and squirt water at lights to short-circuit them. In labs, they recognize individual researchers and can even hold grudges, squirting water at people they don't like. Their trickiest feature is their boneless body. If their hard beak fits, the rest of them can ooze through, meaning doors, locks, and cages mean almost nothing. The weirdest part? Octopuses only live about 2 years. Imagine being that smart with such a short life. They solve puzzles faster than toddlers, but never get to kindergarten. Why does this matter? Because octopuses don't just survive. They outthink us. They've been filmed sneaking out of tanks at night, raiding neighboring enclosures for snacks, then returning before morning like nothing happened. If humans were octopuses, babies would be plotting bank heists before learning to walk. Crows, the feathered engineers. Crows have tiny walnut-sized brains, but don't be fooled. Those brains are packed with problem-solving power. These birds make and use tools, pass down knowledge, and even manipulate human systems to their advantage. In Japan, crows figured out a life hack. Drop walnuts onto busy roads, wait for cars to crack them open, then swoop down when the light turns red. Yes, they follow traffic signals better than some humans. In labs, crows bend wires into hooks to fish food out of tubes. That's invention, not just tool use, but tool creation. They're basically feathered engineers. Even more unsettling, they recognize human faces. If you harass a crow, it remembers you. And it tells its friends. Whole flocks have been observed mobbing people who wronged a single bird. Why is this strange? Because intelligence like this is supposed to require a big brain. Yet crows, with brains smaller than golf balls, rival primates in problem solving. Real-world consequences? In some cities, crows have learned how to work together to raid trash bins, pull up crops, and harass predators. They've turned urban environments into their playground. Crows aren't just birds. They're little mob bosses, with wings, running sky-level heists while holding grudges like medieval nobles. All right, I will be posting more videos here, so slam that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This helps us to rank better in the YouTube algorithm. Dolphins, the ocean tricksters. Dolphins are often praised for intelligence, but their cleverness isn't just cute tricks. It's the way they game the system. In one marine lab, dolphins were trained to bring litter from their tanks in exchange for fish. One dolphin hid a piece of litter under a rock, ripping off small bits each time to cash in repeatedly. It invented coupon fraud. In the wild, dolphins herd fish toward boats, signaling fishermen to throw nets. The dolphins then snatch up the escapees. Humans think they're partners, but the dolphins are just outsourcing the heavy lifting. They also recognize themselves in mirrors, a sign of self-awareness shared with only a handful of species. And they pass hunting tricks across generations. Culture in cetacean form. The weirdest part? Dolphins don't just follow rules. They exploit loopholes. Trainers reward them for cleaning up, so dolphins manipulate trash supply. Fishermen reward them for helping, so dolphins make sure the partnership benefits them first. Why does this matter? Because dolphins don't just survive. They thrive by outsmarting humans, using our own systems against us. Dolphins are basically lawyers with fins, finding every loophole in the contract. Elephants, the strategic giants. Elephants aren't just big animals with good memories. They're strategic thinkers. In Africa, elephants raid farms at night, sneaking into crop fields like gray ninjas. Farmers started using drums, firecrackers, even chili fences to scare them off. The elephants adapted, learning which defenses were fake and which weren't. Some even split into groups. One distracts the guards, the others raid the field. That's military-level strategy. Their memory is legendary. Elephant herds avoid paths where relatives were killed, even decades later. In some cases, elephants attacked villages in retaliation for poaching, targeting huts, and even people. That's not instinct. That's calculated revenge. In captivity, elephants solve puzzles, paint abstract art, and even use tools to scratch hard-to-reach places. They communicate over miles with low-frequency rumbles we can't hear. Why is this strange? Because elephants think long-term. They pass down knowledge through matriarchs, creating something close to generational wisdom. That's not just survival, that's culture. If elephants had thumbs, they'd already be running organized societies. We'd just be tenants in their savannas. Rats, the street geniuses. Humans have spent centuries trying to outwit rats, and mostly failing. In labs, rats breeze through mazes, sometimes skipping the puzzle entirely by finding shortcuts scientists didn't anticipate. In conditioning tests, some fake stress symptoms to avoid unpleasant tasks. They don't just play the game, they hack it. In cities, rats thrive because they adapt faster than we can invent traps. Super rats evolve resistance to poisons, and colonies often send scouts to trigger traps before the rest move in. If the scout dies, the others learn. If it survives, they all benefit. Rats also display empathy. In experiments, they free trapped companions even when food is available, suggesting social intelligence. But make no mistake, they use that same smarts to raid pantries and evade exterminators. Why is this strange? Because rats aren't supposed to beat us at our own game. Yet in many ways, they're urban survival champions, thriving in every city we've built. If humanity nuked itself tomorrow, the only thing left would be cockroaches and rats. And the rats would already be running black markets. Key parrots, the alpine tricksters. High in New Zealand's mountains lives the kea, a parrot with the brain of a prankster. These birds aren't just curious, they're mischievous. Kea are infamous for dismantling cars, unzipping backpacks, and stealing anything shiny. Tourists leave with fewer possessions than they arrived. In one zoo, kea worked as a team. One distracted keepers while the others raided food stores. That's coordinated theft. Scientists tested their problem solving, giving them puzzle boxes. Kea not only solved them, they learned from watching others, speeding up the process. In the wild, they've been caught rolling traffic cones into roads, seemingly just for fun. Why is this strange? Because their intelligence isn't just about survival, it's about play, mischief, and manipulation. Using their smarts for entertainment, kea parrots are feathered Ocean's 11, except instead of robbing casinos, they're after your granola bars. Orangutans, the jungle engineers. Orangutans are patient, observant, and disturbingly good at outsmarting humans. In one zoo, an orangutan named Fu Manchu hid a wire in his mouth, using it to pick locks and led his troop on jailbreaks. When zookeepers fixed the locks, he adjusted his method. In the wild, orangutans use leaves as umbrellas, gloves, or even megaphones. They fashion sticks into tools for fishing termites or honey. And, crucially, they teach these tricks to their young. That means orangutans have regional cultures, just like humans. Why is this strange? Because innovation and teaching are cornerstones of human civilization. Yet orangutans, with no cities or schools, independently invented the same concept. If orangutans had Wi-Fi, they'd already be on YouTube teaching survival hacks. Macaques, the monkey mafia. If you've ever been to Bali or India, you know macaques aren't just monkeys. They're thieves with a business model. Macaques snatch sunglasses, hats, cameras, even wallets from tourists. But they don't just steal, they negotiate. They'll only return the item if bribed with food. And here's the kicker. They understand value. For cheap items, they'll settle for peanuts. For expensive items like phones, they demand higher quality snacks. Scientists studying this called it calculated bartering. Locals just call it extortion. The monkeys have literally created an economy of theft. Why is this strange? Because it's not instinct, it's market economics. Macaques figured out supply and demand better than some human politicians. These monkeys aren't cute. They're tiny mafia bosses running rackets with banana bribes. Cats, the furry manipulators. Unlike dogs, which we bred for tasks, cats domesticated themselves. They convinced humans to feed them in exchange for pest control, then slowly shifted the deal until they barely worked at all. Cats use a special solicitation purr, which mimics the frequency of a human baby's cry. This triggers our caregiving instincts, making us feed them. They also train humans through operant conditioning. If staring doesn't work, they escalate to knocking items off tables until we comply. Why is this strange? Because cats didn't just adapt physically to humans. They adapted psychologically, hacking our brains. Cats aren't pets, they're landlords, and kibble is rent. Ants, the micro-civilizations. Ants may be tiny, but they outsmart humans with collective intelligence. Leafcutter ants farm fungi underground, pruning and fertilizing crops with precision. Weaver ants build nests by stitching leaves together, using larvae as living glue guns. Some ants raid rival colonies, enslaving captives to do their labor. Others herd aphids like livestock, milking them for honeydew. They wage wars, build highways, and relocate entire cities overnight. Humans think we invented farming, animal husbandry, and warfare. But ants had it figured out 50 million years ago. Why is this strange? Because ants, with brains the size of a grain of sand, collectively build societies that rival our own. Ants are basically tiny civilizations, with better infrastructure than half of Amazon's warehouses. If you've watched to this point, slam that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. This helps us to rank better in the YouTube algorithm.